Today we gather to salute our nation's veterans and our wounded warriors. There have been many, many wars in my lifetime alone, but once they're done and the shooting stops, how quickly our nation forgets those who have sacrificed and those who have died for the very freedoms we enjoy today. One of my heroes is our former Commissioner of Veterans Affairs, Paul Galante. He himself, a prisoner of war during Vietnam for 8 years in the Hanoi Hilton, says, "Every day a doorknob is inside your door is a good day." Whether as a POW like former Commissioner Galante or as a veteran, it really is. And no one knows that better than a veteran, his family, and his children. I feel like every day is a blessing for me, especially if I think back over the years that have flown by so quickly, and I remember my friends who didn't come home like I came home, who won't see this day like I see this day, who won't be remembered unless we remember. I feel like every day is a blessing. You see, we remember our battalions, our companies, our ships, our bombers, our tanks. We remember our patrols, our deployments, our battles, our homecoming. We remember our friends, our crews, our units, the mess hall's guard duty. We remember their voices, their shouting, their laughter, and their fears. We, the ones that have served this nation, have these images, these smells, these sounds, and feelings burned into our hearts and our minds and our souls. And sometimes we look back and wonder, what if? You see, in war, winning is everything. There exist countless headstones to mark those who did not finish the race first. There is no place for second place in war. To those who think that we don't need a strong, well-equipped, and well-trained fighting force, ladies and gentlemen, they're wrong. Those who think there's no danger are wrong. History has taught us many lessons. Those nations who do not prepare for war in times of peace will pay in blood of their sons and daughters in times of war. You'll have to excuse me if I'm not being politically correct, and those who know me know that I've never been politically correct. And the likelihood of me being politically correct is slim to none. Today we have an enemy that is determined to kill not only uniformed personnel, but wage warfare on non-combatants and adhere to no moral obligation to decency. They fight with no honor, and they expect no quarter. They will martyr themselves at any cost and put no value on human life. Today's military is in transition, and I work day in and day out with some of these leaders behind me as we work with our military in Virginia. And as we scale back the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, our troops are faced with an imminent downsizing. We're faced with sequestration in Iraq, and our armed forces are having to adapt. They're changing from conventional forces to unconventional warfare very quickly, but it does come at a price. My hope as your state senator is that those in Washington who are the decision makers will ask those of us who have served what the right answer is before they start cutting, quote, the meat from the bone. Let me tell you about tomorrow's challenges. Tomorrow's challenges say that we must wake up the nation. We must push through this time. We must remind our youth of today what price was paid and what were the terms. What do those terms, duty, honor, and country mean? One of my favorite presidents, Ronald Reagan, said, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on to them the same, or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children's children what it was once like to be free in the United States of America." We, all of us in this room gathered here today, must encourage this type of thinking. We must protect our nation as much today as we did as the greatest generation stepped up during World War II. Our service to this nation is not over. We have much to do before the final roll call. There's an important paragraph written many years ago by a guy named John Stuart Mill, and it reads, "War is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things. The decayed and degraded state of moral and patriotic feeling which links thinks that nothing worth war is much worse. The person who has nothing for which he is willing to fight, nothing which is more important than his own personal safety, is a miserable creature and has no chance of being free unless made and kept so the exertions of better men than himself. You see, this is true today as it was yesterday and the day before that. But you and I must sound the wake-up call for a new generation of Americans that freedom is not free. We have to make it happen, and each generation has to make it happen.